So recently, what I've noticed is a lot of these things are happening all over the country. And I pulled up the different meanings: classism, misogyny, fascism. And so I think I wanted to start with fascism. And if you see one, pretty much all of them are the same definition. So, fascism is a political ideology characterized by dictatorial power, extreme nationalism, and suppression of individuals' freedoms. And I believe that's what all of us are experiencing in this time, under this administration. And that's my opinion. This is another thing that women are experiencing. And maybe not all women want to admit this, but I do believe that this trying to stop women's rights from voting, from choosing what she's going to do with her own body, is another form of control and misogyny. So misogyny is hatred of, contempt for, or prejudice against women or girls. It is a form of sexism that keeps women in lower social status than men, thus maintaining the social roles of patriarchy. Misogyny has been widely practiced for thousands of years, and it is reflected in art, literature, human societal structure, historical events, mythology, philosophy, and religion worldwide. So I thought that was a real well-rounded description of misogyny. And it can happen to all women, not just one class or group of women. Then you have classism, and you have classism prejudice. So classism is prejudice against or in favor of people belonging to a particular social class. And then you have classism prejudice. And then you have also scenarios here with the wealth divide, different things that pretty much show you what is happening in our world in real time. So classism, prejudice against or in favor of people belonging to a particular social class. Then they show different pictures that depict, you have the people that are at the bottom, and you have the American flag, and you have all these people that are at the top that are really wealthy, and then you have these people that are, I guess, what would have been, people who are, they're not poor, but they're one step away from it, but they're not rich either. So they're kind of hanging on. So they could be working class, they could be lower middle class and upper middle class, where they're almost close to the top, but they're not quite there. Then you got this guy here on the side. He looks like he's trying to climb to the top. And this one, he's almost at the top. This one was right there, but he got knocked down by this guy. And he might be all the way back down here to poverty, because to me, what that symbolizes is somebody that's working hard and they achieve something and they get close enough to where they need to be, and then some medical emergency could have happened, a health issue, something could have happened where maybe they have a substance problem. Lots of things can happen in the lives of people that can move them from being in the upper middle class to almost wealthy all the way back down to poverty. So that can happen to anybody of any group, any gender, any place that you live, if you've acquired wealth or acquired some level of stability, something could happen in your life, or you could be one step away from this bottom here. So I think there's also a page. It looks like these people are struggling. Then you see people at the bottom right here, and then you see this guy. You see his feet. I'm gonna view the page. He's going even further down the rungs of poverty. And so classism and disability. So that is intersectionally, I said intersexually, it's intersectionality. And that's a noun, so plural noun, intersectionalities. So there's also classism and disability. So people can be prejudiced, or they could show classism in these ways. So yesterday I witnessed some hurtful body shaming, classist, parent judging remarks, which I won't share, but because I don't want or wish those emotions on you, that compelled me to blog today about intersectionality and classism and disability. So I've said before, don't get a disability if you're poor, which is sarcastic, aside expressing my frustration at the widespread lack of access, including access to education, nutrition, physicians, mental health professionals, medical coverage, medication, traditional treatment, homeopathic treatment, and so on and so forth. So it sounds like someone was blogging about different things. So my initial thing was to go to this great depiction on what we're going through. I thought this was excellent, because you see all the different people from different backgrounds and walks of life. You see this guy, his feet are all the way underneath poverty, because he probably was right here where he was hanging on. He was poor, but he at least had something to hang on to, a little of something, but now he's not even able to do that. And we could only imagine what would probably have happened in this person's life, that they've sunken all the way down underneath this row right here. So here's the people that are protesters. Change is needed. Change. We want change. And then you have your wealthy people who only are contributing a little bit of their wealth, but they hoard all the wealth to themselves. So you see the scale tipping more towards in favor to their wealth, and you only have one guy up there, which would represent people who are elite and who are ultra wealthy, where it's not as many wealthy people, but you have a lot of people who are seeing there's a problem here. And then you have poverty and disability. There's basically a growing graph here showing all the people. The ones that you see in dark red are poverty. So poverty is growing. And then people with disability that are in poverty is also growing. The disabilities that are in America, and homelessness. And these graphs are really excellent. Poverty, disability, all the different things that people have witnessed. This is what we are experiencing. I think these are really excellent depictions of what we're dealing with right here. This is probably better than what I could even say. It shows how the world is operating right now. And we're getting deeper and deeper into this. And, the wealth gap, the wage gap, racism. And notice you have only some people that they'll throw some money, or they'll waft some money, or they'll waft their their waft their prosperity and their riches in front of the people who are the major part of the world that is experiencing in real life, where they have to work every day and they have to earn a living. And now we have this new thing here where we've got mass, not only mass incarceration that still persists, we have mass deportations, which is just the next level over from mass incarceration. And then I would believe, and I strongly believe, that we are going into where we have concentration camps. And they're not talking about it in the news. They're not going to reveal those things because that's probably something that they want to steer clear of, because we already have a lot of resisting individuals, people that are resistant with what is going on, and they see what's going on and they're voicing their opinions. And you may ask, what is my opinion or view? Honestly, I understood that, people need to legally arrive in the U.S. the way they should, but maybe there's obstacles that are blocking them from doing some of the things that they need to do, and it might be a long process. It could have to do with money. It also could have to do with literacy, because there might be people that have trouble reading, they have trouble writing or understanding things, and maybe they need things said to them in their language or where they can understand it. Maybe they don't have a lot of money. Maybe there's also some mental abuse and physical abuse, and there might be mental issues going on, health issues going on with the person. They're fleeing violence. Now, everybody's not in the same situation. Some people are over here, they might be running from the law. They might be a part of gangs. They might be part of a criminal environment. And those people, I understand, trying to pursue getting those people away from people that are working and that are trying to have better lives. But to hurt families, to separate families, to put people in concentration camps or detainment with no water and no due process, I'm not in agreement with. Those things I don't agree with, and I feel like there should have been other ways to pursue these issues without having complete chaos and ripping people apart. And maybe giving clearer pathways to citizenship or help to people who need it would have been better, but it didn't go that way. Also, the voting, I really do feel like some people had malicious intentions in their voting choices. Racism was involved. All these things that I talked about, like misogyny, fascism, and racism, classism, prejudices, were involved in their voting choices. I do believe that had a lot to do with what we're dealing with here. I don't agree with taking rights away from women. I don't agree with hurting people just because they look different or they sound different or they have come from a different culture. And that would include people that come here that have hatred for people that are Americans, simply because you don't have a certain status in this country, you're already harboring hate. And I've experienced it from both sides. People that are here, fellow Americans, and people that are coming from other places. Somehow they have prejudices because they feel like they kept their culture. Black people in the black community have experienced that, and I think that's where the frustrations come in terms of black community. More recently, what I've heard that I thought was alarming is we just celebrated Juneteenth, and there were people from Texas that were black, Texans that were saying Juneteenth was something that was more theirs, and you can celebrate it but know what you're celebrating. It was a lot of really negative comments too that made it seem like they were dividing with other black people, stating that the Juneteenth was really their holiday. And so there's divisions within cultures and infighting, and it's not going to get us anywhere. I even heard on TikTok some of the social divides based on religion, based on class, based on whether people have money and achieve things and haven't, based on culture, gender. There's a lots of warring back and forth, war of words, and we're as a people not going to get anywhere because we're so divided on a lot of political issues. And in the black community, there's also extreme hatred towards and homophobia towards people that have different sets of lifestyles. But at the end of the day, these people are still black. Even the Jamaicans, I heard some horrible stuff that people were saying about people from Haiti, people from Jamaica. Oh, that their fight is somewhere else. Their fight is, but guess what? They're going to get discriminated just like we do here in the States. The same way. Whether they're from Jamaica, Haiti, and we have black Latinos, it's real hateful. I've heard those things, and we as people are not going to move forward at all if we hurt different people simply because they haven't experienced some of the experiences that we've went through. We've all gone through something, no matter where we're from, and I just think it's not going to get anywhere. It's just going to get worse, and I really do believe it's going to get worse because now I'm hearing that, a young lady was on TikTok saying that married women may not be able to vote if their name on the birth certificate that they have originally doesn't match their marital name. I believe she said it because there was a bill that was passed. And so they're doing all these things to the voting polls. And I believe some of that is not only just to take away women's rights, it's misogyny, but also it's to stop having a certain select group of people voting. So that gives more of a chance for these people that are bad actors to get in and do what we've been seeing in like this administration. And yeah, I'm referring to the Trump administration. So make no mistake about it, and that is exactly what I'm referring to. I do believe that black people do deserve reparations. We are the only group that hasn't received it, but I don't think we're going to get it. I don't know if we're going to get it in this lifetime, especially the way the vitriol that's going out, the hatred, and if we're hating on each other, what do you expect other groups to do towards us if we're dividing within our own cultures? Yes, we are not a monolith. We have different cultures within the black community, and people are seeing that we all don't agree on all political fronts. But what makes it easier to conquer us is the division that we have amongst one another. And that is the reason why whenever you hear all of the great stories about what has happened in history, it just seems to go over the heads of others, or they don't want to hear it because we don't even get along and we don't stick together like we should. We're too busy bashing one another. We're putting each other down because we don't believe in certain things that another person believes in. Not all of us are going to be religious. Not all of us are going to be straight. Not all of us are going to be about, the same ideologies, but we need to know that we all get discriminated We all are people of color. We all have issues in this time where we have obstacles that are put before us that aren't even our own doing. And some things that we even can't control, like skin color, like gender. I mean, some people choose things that they want to pick fights over, and I don't feel like it's really beneficial, especially if it doesn't uplift others. Sometimes there's some subjects that we don't understand, and we need to learn to understand what those other individuals are going through and put ourselves in their shoes. And I think we've gotten away from having compassion for other people and their circumstances. And even if you don't totally agree with everything that people are involved in their lives, you have to have an open mind, because there might be things about you that maybe they don't agree with, and you have to realize we're all individuals. And so America is supposed to be a land of the free, not a land of fascism. And I think that's what we're getting, farther away from democracy, and we're being thrust in the throngs of fascism, misogyny, racism, hatred, and no one wins with any of that. And that's basically what I wanted to say in this video. That's what position I'm in, that's what opinions I have, and that's who I am as a person. I don't believe that all white people are hateful, yet I do believe they benefit from a society that has fascism and hatred, and politicizes race over others that aren't in a specific phenotypical class. I don't believe that women should have their rights taken away. There is misogyny, and women deal with that from all groups in some shape, form, or fashion, I believe. Even if it's passive misogyny, it's still misogyny. Some women may not think that they're going through any racism or misogyny, but they are experiencing it, and it is happening. And some feel that if they don't keep a man, if they don't keep a relationship that validates who they are, that is something wrong with them. They don't look at the person that they're with. They just want to keep up with societal opinions and views, because they don't want to look a particular way. They don't want to look bad. Well, I can't be single because that makes me look like something's wrong with me. I can't be poor and, at least trying to make it and feeding my family and being independent because it looks like something's wrong with me. I can't be living my life, like a gay or a lesbian, because people will look at me and they'll say, oh, I'm doing something sinful. Religious wise, that is against the Bible. They'll throw all these scriptures at me and put me down, but nowhere in the Bible does it say anything against people that are like that. People will tend to use Bible scriptures and twist them. They'll try to put their spin on it. They'll try to read people, and they'll try to discriminate people. They'll try to use prejudice, classism, and they'll use different verses to make people feel some type of shame, and that takes away from what kind of people they are. They might not be happy with their lifestyle or how they're living. It's not like straight people don't have problems and cheat and go out and sleep around. That doesn't make you a better individual either. It's not to say that in the gay community that's what it's only about, is sleeping around. That's not what happens. That can happen in any group. You might have two people who are gay or who are lesbian and they're in a coupled relationship and it's just between the two of them, consenting adults. Anybody from any group can be a pedophile. You can't just put it on the gay community and say, oh, they're promoting pedophilia, or I don't want my kids learning about LGBT and whatever letters. Some people have a problem with that, so they're hateful to that group. They're in fear, and I think the fear comes from a couple of things: not knowing, not understanding, not having a relationship with people who are in that community, or they know themselves, within themselves, they are gay or they are lesbian and they don't feel comfortable living that way, and they're mad at the ones who do. A lot of times when you see religious groups and they obsess on those issues, more than likely they may have people in those groups that are fighting that and they don't know how to live their life and be who they are. The other thing, moving on, black people fighting with other black people because they come from different places, they speak different languages. I think it's good to open your horizons and learn about different cultures and not harbor so much prejudice. Because there might be things that you might learn from each other and you might realize that you're not that much different from one another. I understand that black people feel that they have gone through so much, and we have, as people in this country and even outside of the US. And I really do feel like this. Now, this is my opinion, that right now we see a lot of the Hispanic community being targeted by ICE. We see Asian community being targeted by ICE. We also see people that are black that are from different countries that are being targeted by ICE. Nightclubs, jobs, churches, different organizations that cater to people from those cultures being targeted by ICE. I feel like this. Don't feel like you can't be targeted because you're an American citizen. There have been plenty of evidence showing that American citizens, because they look like a different group or look like that other group, look Nigerian or they look Jamaican or they look Cuban, black, a black Latino, they look like they're from somewhere else, they get caught up in these deportations. That just happened to a guy, and he was sent somewhere and they didn't get him back, the Trump administration, and they weren't trying to get him back to the US. So it can happen. It can happen to a family member of yours. And you could be born in the US, have family that were born in the US, but because you look like someone from somewhere else, you could get caught up in these ICE raids. So let's not get it twisted. And that could be the precursor to trying to get people out of here, period, to do something illegal like that. It is illegal. I believe it's illegal, what's been going on. Getting mad at judges because they're following the law and then taking it out on judges and then trying to make judges where they can't even actually do the work of justice is dismantling the systems that protect all of us. So any one of us, even black, true black Americans, can get caught up in all of this. So yes, the people that are activists, black activists that are raising the alarms and sounding the alarms, they know where this is going. If you start targeting all these groups, It won't be long before they start looking at us as Black Americans. How can we make this group go away? So think about that. Classism and disability. They're going to target people with disabilities. They've already have with special education. They've taken a lot of the activities out of the schools, the monies. They're targeting sanctuary cities by saying they're going to defund. They're going to defund certain schools. They want a schools for profit, where if you got people who most of the people are of color and they have kids with special needs and they don't have money to pay for schools, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be uneducated, who are going to be at home. They're going to have to try to find ways to homeschool the kids. How do you feed your kids if you can't go to work and you got to be there homeschooling them? I don't think people thought about all of these issues that could actually come up. Black people in the Black community can be affected greatly by this. Those that don't have a whole lot of money. Other ways they can target different communities by taking away food benefits, healthcare benefits, scaling back on retirement, a lot of different things. Yeah, you might not get deported, but you're here living miserably. So don't think that you have it easy just because you were born here, because people are fleeing violence in their country and their governments have corruption. It's not like the US is not doing the same thing. We got corruption going on right now in real time, and we're looking at it every day. So think about that. Before you put down other people, think about what's going on right here and how much worse it could get. We already see about the wars going on, the bombing that just happened, and it, the 3 nuclear strikes that happened from Trump's administration towards Iran. We were looking at the fighting going on, how they treated a Senator Padilla. He's a senator. They wrestled him to the ground. ICE agents. He asked a question and they wrestled him to the ground. All they saw was another Mexican. Not a senator, not someone educated, think about that. Look what they did to Maxine Waters. They wouldn't even let her in the door. She wanted to go in to see what was going on, and they pretty much snatched the door, just slammed it in her face. She's a Black American. Nobody's saying anything about that. No, we're blacks, we're free, nothing's going to happen to us. Yes, it is. You're looking at it. It's the precursor to what's going to be. Think about it. And all this fighting about, Juneteenth is our holiday. Juneteenth is everyone's holiday that understands what it is. Whether they understand it or not, they're learning about it. You don't get the right to say, this is only our holiday. You can say that, but that's not the truth. You're just creating more division. And then I heard some hateful talk yesterday on Tictoc. A woman, she was just venting about how she didn't like Jamaicans. They have their own fight. And the Jamaicans, they're not foundational American Black people. Well, who are you? You don't know who all your people are. You might have some Jamaicans in your family and you just don't know it. A lot of us don't come from the same place. But that doesn't make you better than the next Black person that's struggling with racism too. So, anyway, I'm going to let this video go. Watch yourself, because any of these things that we're seeing on the news that's hurting other people can very well turn against us and backfire, because no one is safe under this administration. What we all need to be doing, instead of fighting with each other and creating more division, is trying to get together and work on mobilizing against the fascism and against this division and the hatred that is actually being spewed out right now. And this right here is a big issue. We got people who have all this money, but we got all this poverty. And poverty is growing. And you know what wall they're going to start building? They've already started. It's a social wall. But physically, we're going to start seeing walls go up in ultra-rich enclaves, where the ultra-wealthy is going to be able to have their own community. And they're kicking everyone out. And you won't be able to survive that.